Welcome back to Mediaweek. Well, it's been a big year in the already massive video game sector with new hardware coming in from major players. Gaming is now the world's largest niche market. With a general consensus, the medium has overtaken movies, music and books in terms of revenues. And the global head of CBS Interactive Games, David Rice, was here in Australia catching up with his colleagues. James, you got the opportunity to speak with him. What did you think?
Yeah, look, it was a great, I thought it was a good little interview because he gives you some insight into why this year is going to be quite crucial for the sector, as you said, which has already overtaken a lot of the other media performers. And it's really a bit off the radar, isn't it, when it comes to terms to sort of general media coverage. So it's great sort of being able to speak to him. Rapidly growing industry. Let's bring you that interview right now. Tell us a little bit about the importance of gaming to the overall CBS Interactive offering.
For CBS, they've got a bunch of different verticals, right? CBS Sports, CBS News, CBS Entertainment. The gaming genre itself is exploding in terms of engagement. Also, the demographic. It's one of the younger demographics, particularly male, 18 to 34. So as CBS looks to build out its portfolio of targeting different audiences, the gaming genre is just super critical to sort of mixing that up.
Yeah. One of the things I was interested in, because of that demographic, is it all sort of protected from the sort of rises and falls in the sort of the wider economy?
The interesting thing with the 18 to 34-year-old is they're the hardest, that male demographic is the hardest target for advertisers. And so when you're talking to non-endemics like the McDonald's or the Pepsis and Fritos and stuff like that, they're always looking for new ways to target that demographic. And so I think what's been really nice for gaming is it's such a loyal and engaged audience that advertisers are always looking for those ways to talk to that demo. So it's been pretty immune to the ups and downs because it is such an attractive, if you're a non-endemic looking for the 18 to 34-year-old male.
Yeah, and and the spenders in that age group, a lot of them, I guess, the younger end of students and stuff like that.
Well, there's a lot of disposable income that they're, because frankly, I'm probably the wrong person to be advertising because I'm more frugal with my money, right? But someone who's 22 and just out of college, super attractive for a McDonald's to be talking to. And they're so hard to find. And so when you can, in these different ways, whether it be through video, on gaming and stuff like that, it's just a great medium for advertisers to talk to these folks.
You've been in Australia a few days this visit, and you look over the books, I guess, for how the company does down here. What are you seeing? What happens here compared to your other markets?
Well, it's interesting in the gaming genre versus, say, other verticals like sports and so forth, where there's a lot of local, unique, regional needs. Gaming is such a global phenomenon. So what's so great is what the audience is looking for here and what advertisers want is very consistent with the U.S. market or the UK market, which is why we do a lot of original content production down here, because the audience can be both Australian but U.S., UK. And so the strategies we employ are global in nature, which is pretty unique for different genres, unlike sports or news, where it's very local based.
Now, gaming's a massive business, and I'm guessing it's continuing to grow. Yeah. Still pretty much off the radar for a lot of traditional media coverage. Is that, in a way, how the sector likes it and how the gamers like it too?
Yeah, the gamers probably like it. I don't like it. So, I think it's one of these, it's the most massive niche market out there. I mean, so it is mass market. It's 100 million people are actually playing games in the U.S. It's a massive, I don't have the specific metrics for here, but it's a massive, kids are playing it. We have guys that are watching 90 minutes, 2 hours of video programming. They're playing 8 hours a day. So when you're talking about something, it definitely is not well known, but it's a big miss at this point. And that's one of the big things I'm doing is spending a lot of time educating advertisers about this big mass market opportunity to talk to this demographic.
Sure. Well, the trends in recent years, we're seeing a lot more mobile everywhere now. Tell me how that's affected gaming and also the growth of tablets.
So what's interesting is there's different genres. So there's social mobile and sort of core PC and console gaming. And so you're seeing a lot more casual gaming around mobile where people can just play on their phones and so forth. We haven't seen that cannibalize gameplay. We focus purely on the PC and console gaming, PS3, the Xbox and PC gaming. So we're seeing that's filling in some other gaps. It's also the other demographics that are doing that. Women, older demographic are doing the social mobile. From a gaming media perspective, we distribute on all those different platforms, but mobile's not as important in the core gaming as probably in other verticals. And so we're spending, the trends for us, for example, are live programming. So in video, for example, there's a lot of trends towards the whole YouTubeization of content. Make it 2 minutes, make it 3 minutes, make it clips. You're seeing with gamers, the big trend for us is live broadcasts, where kids will all come in at the same time, appointment viewing, and watch a live show for 90 minutes. 2 minutes is not enough. So we're seeing gamers flip that's the biggest trend I'd see for us in gaming is this whole consumption side of things around live broadcast of gameplay or game shows.
Could mobile be an intro for some people who haven't been sort of your traditional gamers, if they sample, you know, through mobile and think, oh, I might go and get a console or something? Or do you think it's going to stay there?
I think it's we're actually making a concerted effort to focus. We do cover a little bit of mobile and social games in GameSpot and CBSI Games, and I'm actually making a concerted effort to sort of take that out, because the audience, it's interesting, with the games that we cover, it's where people are spending $60, $80, $100 to buy it, and then they're going to put 80 or 100 hours of their own personal time to playing the game. So they're looking for that credible, authoritative source of information to help them make those decisions. A social game for $1 or for free, they don't really look for a huge editorial voice or media coverage of it. So our sweet spot are those PC and console games, because they're just investing so much time.
So a lot of gaming online, people playing each other, and does that use up bandwidth for the customers? And are we seeing any sort of trends there?
Oh yeah, I mean, multiplayer is huge. It's one of the biggest areas, and what's interesting there is it's now, because multiplayer, there's a phenomenon called esports, where now you're creating teams and these competitions where they'll play to get to these championships. We have these purses for, I think Blizzard just announced that theirs is going to be $1.6 million purse. So you're seeing the this whole multiplayer competitive game is just exploding to where it's, you know, rivaling like tennis or football or basketball, where the same kind of audiences, we'll get 5 or 10 million people tuning in on a weekend for a competition to watch multiplayer competition for games. So it's interesting. I really equate this, that gaming is going through the phases of development that sports went through, say, back in the 50s and 60s, where it went from very much I'm going to be participatory sport to a audience consumption support, you know, and it's going to be really fun.
So, but sort of broadband plans that are capped, does that affect gamers much? There seems to be a bit of a move away from uncapped plans.
Well, there's a whole bunch of different, first of all, the trend for digital download for games. So now games, you know, used to be the cassette that you used to get. Now it's mostly going, if you look at what PS4 is going to do with the next console, what you suspect Xbox will do, it's having bandwidth just to download the game to your console is going to be pretty critical, because everything is going to be in the cloud. But also that multiplayer game. And with the rich graphics you're looking for, bandwidth speed is absolutely critical. And so that's part of the experience, because they're such rich, you know, graphics.
Yeah. There's some activity in the console space this year.
Yeah.
Does that mean can you look at your eyes light up?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Does that mean it could be a landmark year for the sector?
Yeah. Well, what we're looking at is we're actually treating it like almost as a switch in generations. So it's been 7 years since the last consoles were released, and that's a long time. And things were getting a little quiet, you know, in terms of the number of games releases. So this is shaking things up. PS4, 4 weeks ago was announced. We're expecting the Xbox to be coming out shortly in terms of announcements, and just the buzz. Every article we write, every video we produce that's covering the PS4, you know, news and stuff, it's just buzzing. This is going to be a bang-up year, I think, for gaming, because it's just going to reactivate these hundreds of millions of people that play games. And it's the consoles that make it happen. And then there's still PC as well, but it's going to be a great year. Yeah,
you work in an area where it's probably dangerous to go out and make predictions too far down the track. But as far as your game to predict, what can you see happening?
Well, what I can see is you're seeing a lot of things getting, you already saw with the PS4 announcement, live being built in. So I think this whole thought that it's no longer just a single play game, we're touching on a little bit, is this whole multiplayer live broadcast. You're going to see a lot more engagement there and activity. So I think you're going to see that. I think a lot of new tools are going to come off, because what's happened for 7 years is the games have had the same platform, so they haven't really innovated as much. So you need these console generations then for the publishers who create the games to then take that next big leap in terms of what cool capabilities can they build into their games. So I think I'm more interested in actually the cool games that will come out after these new console releases than the consoles themselves, because they're just enablers to the creativity of the publishers. So I definitely think this is going to be that re-emergence of this next generation of gamers, and you're going to see just, again, traffic just take off. Lots of esports.
And that was David Rice there from CBS Interactive. Well, let's take a quick look at the radio ratings for the week. Let's look at Sydney first. And David, a new market leader here.
Yeah, look, second survey of the year. WSFM doing very well, Australian Radio Network, and we'll see as we roll through the other states that ARN had a pretty good survey along the east coast, with Gold having a big jump in Melbourne. Yeah, threatening Fox, if you like. We used to think Nova was a likely threat there. Into Brisbane, 97.3, still hanging on at number 1. Big improver was B105 up in that Brisbane market. Adelaide, we see Mix still hanging on there at number 1. Nova and SAFM. SAFM had a pretty good survey because they've been really the poor cousin there in recent times. Mix hanging on there in Perth. Nova had a pretty good survey. 92.9, Southern Cross stereo station, dropped off the pace a little bit.
Right, from radio to TV, look at the ratings for week 14, free to air, and Channel 7 doing well again.
Yeah, still doing well. This is the last week of the Easter break before we got back into survey, so yeah, it's all Channel 7 at the top there.
And turning the page, that continues. And if we go on now to pay TV ratings for week 14, sports once again dominating, James.
Yeah, AFL, NRL, all doing well, and we'll see one non-sport program in the bottom half of the top 10 there that's selling houses Australia there for lifestyle.
One non-sports program rounding it out. Okay. Now, in terms of other news that's going on, we had, of course, the Logies last week. What does it mean for the networks when they win these awards?
Well, look, it's good because it gets them a lot of publicity, and people other than Nine like to win awards because they get some exposure on the Nine network, which usually wins Logies night as they did this year. But Nine won most of the awards this year. The ABC did very well. 7 and 10 a little bit further back.
And a new drama talking about Channel 9, Love Child.
Yeah, Love Child's from the people who make House Husbands. So that was Nine took the opportunity to announce that on Logies night. So House Husbands has been doing really well. It premiered this week for them. So Love Child we expect it a little bit later in the year.
And a big clash of the reality shows this week. The Voice versus My Kitchen Rules. Who's going to come out on top?
The Voice has been winning it, yeah. The
Really?
Voice did really well because the pre-Easter it was all about My Kitchen Rules. It was a little bit, and as Nick Keenan tipped on this show last week, The Voice did really well. I wasn't sort of as bold as he was about that they would, really dominate, but they have done very well.
And just lastly, James, and quickly, we've got several new shows this week from Mad Men to House Husbands. How have they been rating?
House Husbands did really well. Mad Men not so well. It gets a lot of media attention. Mad Men, but ratings figures under 50,000. Whereas Game of Thrones, the other big sort of show on subscription TV at the moment, still up over around 150,000 for their 2 screenings on Mondays.
Yeah, interesting to see how Game of Thrones is going. I saw an article to tell people to stop downloading it, so it still continues. See how that goes. All right, that's all we have time for on this week's edition of Media Week. From the team here, thanks for your company. Bridie Barry back in the hot seat next week.